Good Saturday morning, everyone. We'll start the live stream here in just a moment.
Hello, hello.
Well, happy Saturday. We have some active weather ahead. I'm meteorologist David Boyd, along with meteorologist Kate Alexander.
All right, so yeah, obviously, I know you've heard a lot on social media and, of course, our forecast and so forth about this storm that's coming in. A pretty major winter storm is going to be impacting. Now, here's the thing. It will be impacting our region, but it's going to be some variation with this as it comes in. So we're going to kind of dive into the details and let you know what you can expect for your location. And obviously, feel free, if you want to, put on the chat where you're watching from. If you have any questions, I'm going to try to get to some of your questions as well later on. So feel free to put those questions in the chat as well.
Sounds good. Well, let's start off with the weather alert day mode that we're in for today, tomorrow, and Monday. We're going to see some snow showers developing today. Then it goes over to some sleet and or freezing rain. Then some rains, a cold rain for a good chunk of Sunday with some milder air pushing in. Then back to some snow showers Sunday night and into Monday. So we're expecting the travel impacts at times. I think road conditions will probably go downhill later this afternoon and tonight, and then improve many locations tomorrow with a cold rain, with the possible exception of near the Blue Ridge and areas from Marion to Boone. You may actually hold on to the icy freezing rain for longer on a Sunday. Then, as the temperatures come crashing down Sunday night, we'll see some more snow showers and the risk for icy roads again, windy and frigid conditions on Monday. So here are the current weather alerts. A winter storm warning in the pink, and that includes most of the region, and it's for a combination of snow and ice. A winter weather advisory, Washington, Green, and Cock, and this is for some lesser impacts. We're expecting lighter amounts of snow and ice in these locations because of some downsloping winds that we're going to get into. Primarily an ice event, Avery, Mitchell, and Yancey, and I would not be surprised if some other counties may be added to the ice storm warning, but either way, the winter storm warning does cover the combination of ice and also the snow. Now, temperatures this morning are cold. It's 14 in Wise, 25 in the Tri-Cities, but I also wanted to show you the dew points, measure of moisture in the air. The air is very, very dry, and that's key to the forecast because as the moisture moves in, we're going to get what's called evaporative cooling, and the temperature will start to wet bulb. And what that means is that it's going to be kind of meeting in the middle. Temperatures will be climbing, and eventually we will see the dew points climbing, and then they end up kind of meeting in the middle eventually as the moisture moves in. So as we look at all that together, we're going to see some lighter snows, looks like developing by the early afternoon. There could be some flurries out ahead of this, but some light snow by 1 p.m., some a little heavier, slightly heavier snow, still fairly light at 5 o'clock, but then moderate snow in the Tri-Cities at 7 p.m., 90%. Going over to a wintry mix at 9, and then potentially the freezing rain by 11 p.m., still a moderate precipitation rate at that point. Currently cloudy skies, 25, wind out of the north at 5. It feels like 19 degrees, the dry air in place. On the radar, you see some blue here. That's the flurries showing up on radar, at least at radar level, but not all this reaching the ground just yet. But wouldn't be surprised to see some flurries through the rest of the morning, but much of the snow is still well back to the west. So looking at the temperatures, we'll be climbing just above freezing today, mid-30s, but not climbing a lot because of the evaporative cooling. Then tonight, as some milder air moves in aloft, it melts the snow a little bit. At first, it could refreeze into balls of ice or ice pellets called sleet, but eventually the cold air near the ground is going to be very thin, and it's not going to have time to refreeze, so it's just going to look like it's raining. But at 30 degrees, we get freezing rain, and that leads to ice accumulation. And if it lasts for a long time, heavy enough, that's what can lead to scattered power outages and also dangerous traveling conditions. Now, in the Tri-Cities, the wintry mix at 9, still snow in Norton and Wise, 24. But even there, expecting freezing rain at 11 p.m., 26 degrees. Now, about the downsloping winds, the gust will be noticeable, especially around Camp Creek up to Roan Mountain tonight into tomorrow morning. And that downsloping produces a little bit of warming. So at 5 p.m. today, snow likely, temperatures ranging from around 25 to 35. We actually cool a little bit by 11 p.m. 29 Bristol, 32 Greenville, at 18 Marion. But notice by 4 o'clock in the morning, the downsloping winds actually bring temperatures up above freezing from Elizabethton, Johnson City, Greenville 35, maybe above freezing in Kingsport, but still near below freezing Bristol, Abingdon, Lebanon, and certainly Marion down into Newland. So we're still going to be seeing the freezing rain at that point. 1 p.m. tomorrow, look at the temperature contrast, 39 Abingdon, 28 with icy freezing rain in Marion. It's still in the 20s, Boone and Beach Mountain. Eventually, these locations finally climb above freezing before cold air comes crashing in Sunday night into Monday morning. By 5 a.m. Monday, we're in the teens and 20s area-wide. So a lot of active weather, severe threat tracker high. The snow developing today, going to the mix, and then cold rain tomorrow, night snow showers Sunday night, and a potential flash freeze with some scattered snow or flurries early Monday, windy and frigid conditions. Now, Kit Alexander joins us again, looking at how massive this storm is and looking at some more of the impacts.
Yeah, and really it is such a massive storm. And I know there's a little bit of variation online on how many millions of people is being affected by this, but notice it really does stretch all the way back to Arizona, all the way over here. Now, it's been progressing to the east, so it's not exactly, obviously, in the same location it was the past few days. But notice some of that snow already moving at least in towards Nashville. We've seen some snow confirmed back towards Memphis. Notice the freezing rain potential, though, down to the south towards Alabama and also Mississippi. I mean, we've got a large swath of warnings to tell you about as well. I know you've seen this online, I'm sure, too. Notice winter storm warnings here, all in the pink, pretty much covering all the way from New York State back into the northeast, all the way down into Texas. And we have those ice storm warnings, including parts of the Piedmont. Winter weather advisories here in the blue, including some of our southern locations. So obviously, there's going to be some variation, as you already know and expect. But certainly the advisories, the lower end of the totals located more towards the south. So let's kind of detail this out. I know one thing you're noticing here, this has changed a lot from the long-term models that we were talking about earlier this week. Something that's interesting with this, and something that many of the long-term models didn't pick up on, some of them did, but some of them did not, is that warm air loft. And that's what meteorologist David Boyd was telling you about. So that warm air loft is really going to influence what we see as far as the precipitation down to the surface, and temperatures super critical for that. So where you expect less snow totals, I think towards the south and parts of the Tri-Cities, anywhere between a dusting, maybe a half an inch, up to as much as 2 inches as some of that heavier precip, that snow moves in. And this storm system is starting out in the form of snow. You'll find more higher in totals towards the north and west, with amounts maybe 3, possibly as high as 4 inches, but generally in southwest Virginia, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a bit. I'll be answering some of your questions on that, but about 1 to 3 inches in general expected for southwest Virginia. Here's the side of things that I'm more concerned with here. Not so much the snow this go around, but definitely the ice potential. I know it's something we really don't want to see, but unfortunately in this case we are going to see that transition over. It may mix with some sleet, at least initially, before transitioning over to this freezing rain. So Tri-Cities, lower end of totals, but still maybe 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice in general, kind of ranging depending on your location, up to 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch of ice, especially points east. Notice towards Marion, it's going to be colder for substantially longer, so it's going to take it longer to transition, and staying as freezing rain tomorrow before eventually turning over to rain tomorrow, but it may take a good chunk of the day before that happens. More freezing rain towards western North Carolina. So just briefly wanted to touch on this. It only takes about 1/4 of an inch of ice, if even that, to bring down some power lines. A typical stranded power line, you add in 1/4 of an inch of ice, it can range between 100 to 500 more pounds of weight on that line. So just a little bit of wind could take those things down. It's something we're concerned about. A moderate risk up to about 1/4 of an inch. More than 1/4 of an inch, we're talking about serious effects, and I think that potential is mainly there east of the Tri-Cities for higher end totals. So it's a good idea. Just go ahead, have a winter weather plan in place, which I'm sure many of you do. I know I've already seen it at the stores with everything disappearing, so I'm sure you do. But anyway, so it's a good idea. Go ahead and charge up the phones. I think that's kind of super important going into a storm like this. Having a source of heat, really critical here, because if your power goes out, if you have a backup generator or another source of heat, that's kind of critical, because if not, then that moves down to this third thing that I want to talk about. It's a good idea to go ahead and have some extra clothes, maybe just have some blankets around. Dress warmly, prepare for it, because, you know, if power's out for a little while, temperatures are going to go down, so that's not a good thing. So having a backup source of power is good. If not, hey, also if you need some lighting, obviously power goes out, we're going to need that. Use flashlights instead of candles. Obvious reasons there, as far as the risk. All right, so meteorologist Dave Boyd is going to talk a little bit more about the timing of the system, because here's the thing, it's going to be transitioning over to that freezing rain as we go into the late evening.
Yeah, as that mild air moves in aloft, we'll see the sleet and the freezing rain, but eventually the mild air will be pushing temperatures above freezing from southwest to northeast. So 1 o'clock in the morning, many areas seeing freezing rain, but a few pockets of just cold rain in the Tri-Cities. Then by 5 a.m., many spots getting a cold rain, but areas to the east, Marion down to Boone, still seeing the freezing rain and ice accumulation. 2 p.m., the rain may actually be steady and even maybe a little heavy at times, moderate to briefly heavy. We can see an inch of rain on a Sunday before the cold air comes rushing in, and we transition back to snow showers scattered around Sunday night and also into Monday morning, with temperatures coming crashing down. So we're concerned about the roads becoming icy then. So earlier we were showing you how we may see little to no accumulation in places in Greene County and a little bit more in the Tri-Cities. But by Sunday night and Monday morning, scattered snow showers possible in many spots. Now in the valleys, it'll probably be anywhere from just a trace to around an inch, inch and a half possible. But a few mountain areas may get 2 to 3 inches of snow. And this is that second round. Much of the snow and sleet may melt with the rain Sunday, so then we'll have another round into early Monday. So with the rain Sunday, 44 in the Tri-Cities, but notice Boone just barely getting up to freezing. A lot of ice off to the east. Then Sunday night, Monday morning, lows in the teens. So even just from the runoff from the rain, we could have some icy conditions into Monday morning. And look at the highs Monday afternoon, 17 to 24. That is it. And the wind is going to be gusty into Tuesday morning. So wind chills Monday night and the Tuesday morning could be as low as 6 below in the Tri-Cities and 10 to 20 below across the higher elevations. And once we fall below freezing Sunday night, we actually may stay below freezing until next Saturday afternoon, the 31st. Lows near 0 Monday night. The record is 0. Back in the single digits Thursday night. So we got some serious cold ahead. I have 24 Monday, 25 Thursday, and 28 coming up on Friday. So here's 7-day forecast, breaking it all down again. Snow developing today, wintry mix, freezing rain or sleet tonight, low of 28. 44 cold rain in the Tri-Cities Sunday. Snow showers 18 Sunday night. Snow showers, flurries taper off Monday, high of 24. 1 Monday night. Another chance for a few snow showers and flurries in the area Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Another shot of cold air, highs in the 20s and lows in the single digits. So Kit, come on back here and back in and tell us, were you getting some questions?
So yeah, we're going to take a look at some of those. Actually, let me grab my phone real quick. We'll actually pull up some of those and answer your questions, because I know there's going to be a lot of variation from location to location, with lesser of the snow totals obviously to the south and the more threat here from the ice. Let's see if we can pull up a couple things.
And I'm also going to pull up the explainer on the precipitation types and why we're getting that. So Kit, you just jump on in here in a moment. I'll go over this real quick. So why are we seeing the threat of sleet and freezing rain? Well, if it's below freezing all the way down from the cloud to the ground, we just get snow. And of course, many times we end up with the rain with temperatures above freezing. But when we have some mild air aloft, what we call the warm nose coming in, that will change things quite a bit. So the snow falls, melts right here, but then has a pretty thick layer of atmosphere below freezing. So it has time to refreeze into little balls of ice or ice pellets. That's the sleet. So that will impact travel, but it does not accumulate on power lines and trees. So we don't have nearly as many power outages with sleet. But the real problem is when some cold air gets stuck near the ground, especially in some of the sheltered valleys or the hollers. We may get temps staying below freezing in some spots. So that as that rain falls, it just looks like rain, but then it accumulates in the form of ice. And that can build up quite a bit over time. And that's what leads to the problems with trees coming down and power lines coming down and the roads becoming very icy. And of course, remember, bridges ice up first in this kind of scenario. So
yeah,
Kit, what do you have?
Super important to mention. So yeah, from Janet here, Janet Elkins Hayes. I have seen about 1 inch of snow in the past 2 years. Still dreading this, she says. So obviously talking about the ice potential there. And I mean, yeah, never a good thing. But yeah, we'll be tracking it through the evening. Casey Parker says we still have some snow on the ground. I totally get that, especially in some of those deep valleys in Southwest Virginia. I've seen that. Jasmine Williams, so when is it supposed to start?
Well, right, got that pulled up right here. So now there could be some flurries at any time, but I think that the bulk of the snow will be developing this afternoon, and it'll probably still be on the light side around noon or 1 p.m. if you're seeing it. 40% chance of some very light snow here at 3. Light snow more steady by 4 to 5 p.m. A moderate snow by 7 p.m. But to some spots may start to see it change over, especially southwest of the Tri-Cities. It may already be mixing with sleet. And that's another thing. It could go back and forth. So we could have snow for a time. It might mix with sleet or go to sleet. Then it might go back to snow. It might go to some freezing rain. A few spots may get a little bit of rain mixed in with temperatures just above freezing at first. So complex forecast, but in general, going from very light snow to a moderate snow by 7 o'clock, and then the wintry mix over to the freezing rain later in the evening. And at least it departed tonight, all depending on how long it takes for temps to climb. Some spots will actually see the temps rise overnight, while areas to the east stay well below freezing overnight.
I like what Michael had mentioned here, and I totally agree. He quotes Bob Dylan. He's like, you don't have to be a weatherman to see which way the wind blows, and I totally get that. And in this case, we know that the storm is blowing in. So let's see, Jasmine, well, she asked the same thing. When is it starting to? We covered that. Hunter wants to know about the Buchanan County area.
Well, let's look at the snow forecast first for today. Oh, there's the wrong one. Here we go. So we got the snow developing, and northern locations are going to be staying snow longest. We were showing the forecast for Norton. It's going to be similar for Grundy. So southern areas may not see much stick. There's portions of Greene County here may not see it stick at all. And in Johnson City, wouldn't be surprised if it's a dusting to maybe a ½ inch or so. You're kind of in that lighter shading, the gray shading. But the brighter colors toward Kingsport, Bristol, Abingdon, a better chance of around 1 inch, maybe 2. All depends on how much snow versus sleet, because anytime you get the sleet mixing in, that reduces the snow total. But to the north here in Buchanan County, a good chance of 1 to 2, but I wouldn't be surprised at some localized 3 totals here. It's showing up to the west here on this map, but especially on some of the ridges that may not show up here on this map, there could be some localized spots. So I'd say 1 to 3 inches, as Kit mentioned earlier, for snow for the first round. Then we get the threat for the freezing rain and the ice. We'll see maybe a few pockets in northeast Tennessee that only see a few hundredths of an inch of ice accumulation. Others may see 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch, and it could vary quite a bit from place to place. Mountain areas get more serious amounts, because being that 1/4 to ½ inch range, and especially North Carolina mountains up to Marion, more concerned about a ½ inch, maybe more in a few spots. And then here, northern areas in that around 1/4 of an inch of ice. So winter storm warning covering that. And then we'll jump ahead real quick to the second round of snow showers. After the rain on a Sunday, we get some more snow showers in the area Sunday night into Monday morning. Valley areas anywhere from just a trace to around 1 inch, 1.5 inches. And north and east could see closer to 1, 2, locally 3 inches.
All right, a couple more questions here. Holly Wells wants to know when it starts in Marion, which obviously is going to be a little bit later in Marion than what will be in Tri-Cities. What do you say? Yep. Maybe an hour, 2 hours later? We'll take a look at that.
I'll pull up the local future track, because I don't think I showed that earlier. So these are we got the temperatures on here too. So here at 1 o'clock, these are at least some flurries in the area, maybe a little bit of patchy light snow. But I think the steadier snows really build into much of the area between about 2 and 4. There'd be lighter snows here in Marion about 4 o'clock with the lighter colors, the steadier, heavier snows here and the darker colors. So let me back this up and kind of slow it down just a little bit so we can see in between those pause points. So we'll back up here. So around 3 o'clock, got the scattered snow, but then it really fills in many spots by around 4 o'clock approximately.
Tanya also wants to know, Tanya Trivet, what about the Hickory Tree area? And I think that's around the Bluff City.
Yeah, Sullivan County, yeah. Kind of similar. We'll see it developing as we get into the afternoon. Very similar to the Tri-Cities forecast that we were showing on those graphics.
We'll take a couple more questions.
Look that up here one more time. So there's the timing for the Tri-Cities.
There we go. A couple more comments here. Thank you so much for everybody chiming in, by the way. Casey Parker, so snow, then to ice, then rain, and then snow and Grundy. I mean, yeah, in general, that looks to be the trend. Just, you know, the timing with that, starting out with the snow, progressing to ice late evening, then eventually over to rain by tomorrow, and then back to the snow
right.
eventually.
Yeah, so there's the general timing, how the mix comes in from the south. And then same thing on Sunday as the freezing rain changes to rain from northwest to southeast. It takes a while from Marion down to Boone on Sunday to change over. But then as we get to about 4 o'clock, notice how just about everybody in the viewing area on Sunday getting that cold rain before it goes back over to snow showers Sunday night into Monday morning. So the storm track shifted north, and that's what pushed the heavy snow to our north. If I zoom out on this map here, I know that the numbers won't work out, but you can see the heavier totals up to the north. And when the storm track was to the south, we were in that heavy snow, but everything changed when we got closer and could tell that the storm was coming in at a different angle.
Yeah, I'm really getting that high-res data like HRRR and some of the runs of the NAM and the RPM and a few others, really kind of incorporating that data really helps out. Oh, Missy likes the fact that you said holler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Deborah Eastridge says, we're all on the holler.
That's right.
So
I'm from Knoxville, so I know all about hollers too.
Grace Neal, the ice is worrying me. I totally get that. I mean, even just a little bit of ice, I mean, heck, I certainly don't like driving on it because, well, it's, you know, it's slick. It's not a good thing, not at all. Amber Haney, can you explain the northwesterly wind that's causing us to warm up? So it's really not really the northwesterly wind. It's really we're incorporating that warmer air out of the south and southwest, really out of the Gulf. So it just really, the thing is with it doesn't move in even. It moves in basically kind of in layers, and in this case, part of the atmosphere before it eventually moves in more substantially. Yeah, and as you were mentioning, in general, it is out of the south. I think maybe what they were referring to was the southeast winds coming in out of the mountains. So let's look at that a little bit closer. So 5 p.m. today, temps around 25 to 35. Temperatures throughout the atmosphere look cold enough for snow, with the possible exception of just southwest of Greenville, I think. Then as we fast forward to 11 p.m., we're starting to see more of that southwest flow. And as the winds come down off the mountains, in this case, it will compress and actually heat things up a little bit. So it's an opposite effect here to the east. The upslope flow is a cooling flow, so that keeps temperatures down, Marion down to Newland. Then as it comes back down the mountain, it actually warms things up. So it's possible that we get this to be strong enough that we might be able to avoid much freezing rain in the Tri-Cities, at least Kingsport to Johnson City. It all depends on just how strong that warming is going to be and when it moves in. By 4 o'clock in the morning, we're above freezing in Johnson City, Greenville. We're close to freezing in Bristol and Elizabethton, but still dealing with freezing rain in Abingdon, Lebanon, Wise, and especially from Marion down to Newland, that cooling flow I was talking about. And it holds on. This temperature contrast is very impressive. At 1 p.m. on Sunday, cold rain in Abingdon, 40, but freezing rain still in Marion at 28, 26 in Boone, and 28 in Newland. And finally, we climb above freezing, at least in Marion, Beach Mountain, and Newland. But Boone itself and Jefferson may take until after 4 p.m. Looks like the high tomorrow will be 32 in Boone, and then we come crashing down with the cold air from the northwest Sunday night to Monday morning. So very complex, a lot of things going on. Oh, yeah. All right, just a couple more comments, questions here. Number one, Rita Sue Powers in the house watching. Whoop, whoop. Thank you for watching us there. Tiffany Waddell, 25 degrees already in Marion, Virginia, 25 degrees. I believe it. It's in the 20s here as well. Sally Sutherland, thanks for keeping us updated. You are very welcome. Christopher Carlin, hey, we're selling snake oil to anybody who wants to buy it. Oh, my. Okay. All right. Christina Vines, Hawkins County. Okay, let's see. Hawkins County, Church Hill. Oh, so questions about how it might vary a little bit in Church Hill, Hawkins County, that general area.
Snow or ice or anything particular?
I would say both.
Okay. So I would say the biggest difference is probably going to be here like southern Greene County, southern Washington County, and parts of Carter, where we get hardly anything to stick, anywhere from nothing to maybe a ½ inch. But then as we get further north into the colder air and away from the downsloping effects too. So I could see Churchill potentially getting an inch or two. Just again, all depends on how long it stays snow before it mixes or changes over to sleet and freezing rain. So it's a very complicated forecast. It's hard enough to figure out exactly how much moisture is going to be in the air and then what type of snow. Because the dry snow, you get more of it. A wet snow, for the same moisture amount, you get less. So if we have 1 inch of moisture, like tomorrow, like Sunday, we're expecting an inch of rain. If that inch of rain was a dry snow, it could be 15 to 20 inches. If that 1 inch of liquid tomorrow had been a wet snow, it might only be 5 to 8 inches of snow. So then you throw in the precipitation types, it gets tough.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of complexity there. She has one more question, then I'll get back to Denise here. Christina also adds, do you think we'll see a lot of power outages in the Tri-Cities? Which I think with lower freezing rain amounts, it would be more in the 1/10 to a 1/4 of an inch range. Sound like more of a chance of a few scattered outages more.
Yeah, and so a lot of the models have been trending just a little bit warmer, because even yesterday we were showing more of the moderate over the more of the Tri-Cities. It's still over Bristol on this model run. And it partially just comes down to just how long the cold air holds on right near the ground. And sometimes that's really hard to forecast. But with the downsloping winds, that really is going to be helping to warm things up, especially Greenville to Johnson City and perhaps into Kingsport. It's just going to take longer to warm up northern areas. So it's in some ways, it's touch and go and it could vary quite a bit across one county, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is certainly true. Let me get to just a couple more of these real quick here. Thank you so much for everybody chiming in. So Denise wanted to know about Jonesville, and I know it's further west. I mean, I think the chance is still there for that transition over from some snow eventually over to that freezing rain. I mean, maybe a little earlier, though, since they're on the western side.
Yeah, and the cold air holds on a little longer, so they've got a decent chance of around 2 inches before it switches over to the freezing rain and sleet, and then the rain tomorrow, and then with the northwest flow and the backside of this system, we'll see some light snows into Monday morning. But everybody's getting cold, that's for sure, because we go, after being in the 40s with rain Sunday, we're down to 12 in Norton Monday morning and 18 in the Tri-Cities. So I'm concerned just about the runoff from the rain. Even if your location doesn't get that much snow Sunday night, Monday morning, the runoff from the rain might, if it's running, it may not freeze, but just the amount of moisture that's still going to be on some of the roads and some of the puddles and things like that.
Yeah, which makes complete sense. Doris Martin, hi from Shady Valley. We've had a really bad ice storm here several years back when the power was out for quite a while. Do you think it will be this bad this time? And she says to everyone, stay safe.
I am a little bit more concerned about places like Shady Valley because the ice potential is higher in the mountain areas, even on the Tennessee side, but especially North Carolina side up into Marion. And so we just want you to be prepared. A lot of different factors go into the threat for power outages. I know that crews work all year long on trying to maybe cut trees down that are close to lines. All kinds of things go into pre-planning. And so then it comes down to just how cold it is in certain spots, how much is accumulating. So there's certainly the potential for scattered outages, and maybe some of the eastern areas could potentially have some long-lasting outages. And with it being so cold, that is a concern. So we were looking back the last significant ice storm that we could find in the Tri-Cities was February of
2015 on the 17th, I believe.
Yeah, so just over, or about 11 years ago was the last time. So it doesn't happen many times in the Tri-Cities. It's more often to get we get the ice along the Blue Ridge.
All right, Heather Venover, so she says, not as bad as they initially said. Well, unfortunately, as we got the higher res data, the ice side of things really just sounds worse to me. Honestly, personally, I wish it would just be straight up snow. It would save us a lot of trouble. It would be a lot easier really to forecast rather than dig into all the details. But in this case with ice, I think the threat is substantially worse for a lot of the region, but now for some of us, getting that warm nose in is really going to help. So in that regard, I think that could help us out. But even 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice could still present some problems, certainly in terms of travel. And if you get a little bit of wind, we could still be looking at some power outages.
Yeah, and I want to go over this real quick. So nowadays with social media, as soon as the first model run shows a high amount of snow, it's out there. But just know that one model run is not a forecast. It's just a piece of the puzzle. And so when we're in that 5 to 8 day out to range, we start to look at it. It's like a heads up, we're watching this, and that's what we were doing back on Monday, is that the models were trending up quite a bit over the weekend and back on Monday. And then a lot of people were talking about potential snowfall totals. We were talking about the chances of amounts, but unfortunately, even 4 to 5 days out, the snowfall forecast can be in low accuracy. And I wish it wasn't. Sometimes the StormTrack doesn't shift and the long-term trends are good. We look at a lot of different data, and there was a lot of data that was going with more than 8 inches of snow in our area earlier, even just 4 or 5 days out. But things shifted as we got closer. We could tell the storm was going to be taking a little bit more northern track in our area. So we try not to give detailed amounts until we're confident enough, and that's why things sometimes can shift, partly because 4 or 5 days out, the storm system was still out over the Pacific Ocean, or part of it up near Alaska, and so we just don't have all the pieces of the puzzle close enough to accurately get the details down.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, since it was actually still in the Pacific, we just don't have the extra grid points, the extra data points to plug in that information. That's why it really helps to get these high-res, short-term model, like these models, basically incorporated into the data. You get a lot more accurate picture of what's going on, because even then, blends and ensembles and the different means can still be a little bit biased. And I think this time we've seen a trend where it's been a little bit of a cold bias long term. Yeah,
and another way I like to look at it is say you're on a riverbank and you're looking upstream. Well, the further you're looking upstream, the harder it is to see exactly what's coming. And so that's kind of in general, what we were talking about, because we couldn't see all the pieces of the puzzle, and we knew a storm was coming, and it's going to be a big one. It's just that the heavy snow swath ended up being a couple hundred miles to the north.
Yeah, and not to harp too much longer on this, one thing before we switch on to the next couple questions and so forth, but I do want to add that in the scheme of things, having a long-term model that was predicting something that hadn't even formed off the Pacific and still get it within about 100 miles, honestly, is, about 6 to 7 days out is pretty darn good, in my opinion. But it's just not, you just don't have the critical data to know if it's going to be that snow or ice and the stuff that we really need, which is more of your high-res model data. That really helps with that, which I totally get. And answering Mitzi here, talking about it's, never accurate. It's not really the case. It's your long-term data that's not as accurate. Unfortunately, like I said, it varied within 100 miles, which made all the difference. Sometimes, I mean, heck, it can make it just a difference. Having 1 degree temperature difference can make that difference.
Because it looks like this snow is going to be here. So to us, that's a huge change. But let me measure this out. So from the Tri-Cities, I mean, it was a shift of about 120 miles. So it's very frustrating, but unfortunately, that's kind of the accuracy that we typically see, is that things can change, especially 4 or 5 days plus.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives you kind of a little added information. Victoria and Evan, how about Saltville? How's Saltville looking? Well, you're still in that winter storm warning zone, so I think you're still going to have that chance for 1 to 3 inches of snow initially before we see an eventual transition over to some of that freezing rain.
Yeah, and Saltville is going to be kind of on that line of when they see the freezing rain stop, because I don't have it plotted here, but you can imagine the difference here between Abingdon and Marion. So there could be there's going to be a very sharp contrast in how long the ice potential continues.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we need to kind of wrap things up here. One more question, though. This is kind of important from Brooke. She wants to know if we think schools will be open Monday and Tuesday for Kingsport. Obviously, now, we obviously don't make, those decisions. Yeah. but I will say, here's the thing. We get that rain, which should help melt things, especially in the Tri-Cities, Kingsport. On Sunday, the thing is we get some of that wraparound moisture that moves back in on the colder side of things.
It's all going to depend on how much the roads are still wet Sunday night, how quickly we fall below freezing, and how many snow showers fall in your local area. So I would say in general that there's a good chance of some schedule changes Monday morning, but I definitely don't think everybody's going to be out. So it's just one of those, it's just going to vary from place to place.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for your questions. I'll try to get to a few more of these later on and type you up some answers there, everyone. And thank you so much for chiming in with all those questions. In the meantime, though,
we do appreciate it.
Yeah, and we have, of course, ways that you can keep up with the latest forecast. We plug in the numbers on our website, by the way. You can go to wcyb.com and pull up the latest. Here's the QR code. You can pull your phone out there. You can either scan it, or if you have an iPad, pull your phone out and scan that QR code. It's free on the App Store and Google Play. We put the latest forecast in there, but there's also links to the latest weather forecast videos and our weather blog. We're updating some of the more detailed analysis stuff. I know next week we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about the long-term models and kind of some of the biases and so forth that we went through with this system. But we're going to wait till next week on that. But you can find all that latest information there on the website, wcyb.com.
So thanks for joining us today. It looks like we're going to see a little bit of everything from snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain. We'll have more updates throughout the day on air.